Hello, everybody, and welcome again to another episode of One on One with HBS Dealer. And with us today is our special guest, Brian Bowerfind. He is the industry president for lumber and building materials for ECI, and he's here to talk about technology. Welcome to the program, Brian.
Good to be here, Ken. Glad we were finally able to get this on the calendar.
Piece of cake. And how did you get to ECI, Brian? Can you briefly and memorably describe your career path?
I'll do that in just 60 seconds. I have been in technology, if you will, for the past 33 years. So I've been doing it a while. I've always been in technology, kind of business to business technology, which is very different than business to consumer. On the business to business side, I've been in business systems. So think ERP type of technology, the solutions that run businesses. And have been president here at ECI for a few of their divisions for the past just going on 9 years now.
When we travel out to a lot of our dealers, we hear increasingly about the importance of e-commerce. Have you been seeing the same thing?
Absolutely. Yeah. I actually just read a statistic that commercial contractors, their buying patterns are 700% up since 2018. So that's a good swath of time, but I think it just goes to show that many contractors are looking to use e-commerce in different ways. You know, some from a purchasing perspective and some just from an investigation and pricing perspective. But it is certainly in a lot of conversations I'm having these days.
What do you think? What do you think took so long for this conversation to perk up to the top?
It's a great question. I just think, you know, this industry has a lot of entrepreneurs that have done things the way they've done things for many years, and sometimes taking advantage of technology and doing things a little bit differently is a laggard. Not only in this industry, but I've seen it in many other verticals as well. So. Even though it might be a little late to the table, it's still good to see that there's an interest there, and more importantly, that it's adding value.
Mhm.
It's adding value to the industry.
Can you share, in your experience, what challenges might present themselves to a company kind of launching an e-commerce program for the first time?
Well, listen, it takes a dedicated focus. E-commerce is not something that just care and feeds itself. It takes care and feeding on a weekly and a monthly basis if you're going to do it right. Not only do you have technology partners involved, but you have content partners involved. So, you know, you're not going to buy anything through an e-commerce channel unless it has very good, rich content. We, like a ECI or a technology partner, are typically not content providers. And so our customers not only have to work with us, but they have to have manufacturers and distributors that create really rich content that they can consume and make sure that we can display.
Another hot phrase we hear a lot, of course, is AI, artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And just anyone who peruses your website will see AI well represented. How is that playing out at the lumber yards across the country?
Well, I think they're starting to embrace it. They're starting to ask a lot of questions, but like e-commerce, it's still a kind of, you know, how do we use AI? What is AI? How will it benefit us? How are you using it as a company? So it's a lot of education right now. And so we're showing how we're embedding AI in workflows and making their lives more efficient. We're certainly not doing anything to position it as job elimination. I know there's a lot of kind of scary talk out there about AIs taking over the world. I would certainly pause on a lot of what you hear out there and kind of look at how it could really make employees more engaged and more efficient. And so that's certainly how we're looking at it. So again, lots of education on that subject right now.
What type of questions are you hearing, and what type of questions do you think dealers should be asking about how AI could help their business?
That's a really good question, right? Because there is a couple of different sides of AI, and I'll explain that. So, you know, we're producing solutions that take AI and create reports and dashboards and look at disparate technology stacks and disparate databases. And like I'm sure you've used AI. You go to an AI engine, you type a free form question. internally AI is doing a bunch of search for you and then gives you a response, gives you a chart, a picture, something like that. That's very informative type of AI. We're certainly doing that in a lot, embedding that in a lot of our solutions. But there's also agentic or agentic AI, where it could actually, you're creating a process where it's going to work on your behalf. And I think our dealers really, are starting with, hey, I want to be able to look at reports and get graphs and ask questions. And so that's kind of table stakes at this point. The real, where the rubber meets the road is agentic, where we could have a agent in the background kind of working on behalf of the dealer. So, think of it as additional non-paid employees that are doing some kind of task that's a repetitive task. And obviously, employees would need to review and ensure that things are working correctly and that information is being processed correctly. But the big focus for tech companies right now is on the agentic side, on how we could create much more value for customers in that regard.
Hearing you describe that, it seems to me that's not the case where you can just go to the ECI store and buy a package of AI and put it in, inject it in your business. It seems like it takes a lot of consultation.
No, Ken, I would not agree with that. We need to make it as easy for the end user to consume as possible. And so that's where we spend most of the time at ECI is spent thinking through, how do we make this easy? How do we make it easy to consume? How can we create a dashboard where one of our customers can just type a question and get back a really, really good, quick response? Or how could we help embed agentic AI within our solutions so that the customer can see it working on behalf of their business? And so it's never going to take off if we make it terribly hard.
And the lumber and building material industry has a reputation for being behind the times in terms of investing or implementing cutting edge technology. Is that true, or is that a myth? Where do you stand?
Look, I'm always impressed. As I said, I've been with ECI about 9 years. I've just been in the LBM part of ECI for the past little over a year. So I'm relatively new in the lumber building material space myself. And I don't think I would agree with that, Ken. I've met many of our customers and potential prospects that I'm super impressed with how they're using technology and how they're thinking it through. But in any vertical, you've got folks that are used to kind of doing things on paper and not using technology, and that's where we try to focus a lot of our time to get to show them kind of how we can make their lives easier and more efficient. But yeah, to just put a general swath on, I'd say in the last 5-6 quarters that I've led this business, I would not say that.
In the closing moments of our interview, is there anything that really excites you about the programs or solutions that you have coming out?
I think we're in a most exciting time ever. I mean, it took the internet to evolve over a couple of decades. I think we're going to see AI evolve over the next, 3 to 5 years significantly. And so our time comparison is much compressed. I think between AI and everyone moving a lot of their business online to an e-commerce platform is things that we just haven't seen in the LBM world, and it really excites us that we're positioning our dealers for growth.
Brian Bowerfind from ECI, thanks so much for talking to us.
Thanks for having me, Ken.